It feels like the Manchester Laugh Factory is going to be closing down. Over the last few years, it's been a lot of fun for the neutrals to follow the trials and tribulations of Man United as they have crawled and scraped and continued to fall when they were already on the ground post Alex Ferguson. And it does feel that now that Ten Hag is, he's won a trophy and he's got his contract not cancelled or whatever happened there. But they've went into the transfer window and they're starting to do some serious business. And Man United last year definitely scraped their way across the line for European qualification to win a trophy ultimately in the end. But the business they've been doing over the last couple of years has been somewhat lackluster. But this window has started off in a big, big way. The Ineos kind of reign, as it were, at Man United does feel like it's got off to an absolute great start. As earlier today we had the announced confirmed transfer of Joshua Zirkzee to Manchester United, and a move that Man United have definitely had to, fight off opposition. There's been other clubs that have been interested in Zirkzee, who has been one of the most exciting attacking prospects across European football for the last kind of 12 to 18 months since he made the move to Bayern Munich, and it went a wee bit wayward for a minute, but at Bologna, finishing in the top four, being one of the main pieces of the Thiago Motta football puzzle over there in Italy. He sealed a move to Man United that really could change their fortunes in a massive way. But not only that, there's a bit of a domino effect about to happen at Man United, where we will see a few more outgoings and a few more incomings that are going to further compound a really good transfer window, I think, for Man United, that really should give them, the fans and everyone associated with the club, a kind of renewed vigour, confidence and maybe optimism around how they could do next year. In the video today, we're going to look at how Zirkzee could fit into Man United, where his strengths and weaknesses could enhance this team, or whatever it might be, as well as those dominoes that are about to fall. Who's about to leave, who else is about to join them, and how does Man United begin to shape up coming into the new season. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get to the comment section and let me know, Joshua Zirkzee, higher or lower? 15 goals in his debut Premier League season. I'll be really interested to catch them, and we'll pick up on the comments next time we cover Man United. But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, if you think I'm being a bit harsh on Man United, if you're a Man United fan, finishing in 8th with 57 goals scored, 58 goals conceded, it was a train wreck of a season. And having a look at how much the rest of the teams in the Premier League are strengthening, and maybe some of them are going to go through their own transition period this season, this is definitely an opportunity Man United cannot miss out on to gain back Champions League status, to push into the top 5, the top 4, whatever it ends up being. And number one, the area they have to improve on is goals scored. Only scoring 57 goals. They are joint with Crystal Palace as being the lowest scorers in the top 10. The only teams they did outscore is everyone in the bottom 10, which is not very Man United. It's not a great achievement. And with 58 goals conceded, not the worst defence in the top 10 by any stretch of the imagination, but almost double, or exactly double Arsenal in that fact, but almost double what Man City have conceded, a lot more than Liverpool, and really not too different from the rest of the teams in and amongst them. The main differences being the lack of goals in the team. And looking at the squad, how it sits right now, because Sancho and Greenwood, it feels like they're on their way out, but when you look at the attacking roster, the attacking cohort of players that Man United have, now the shape and the style of play, we'll see how it kind of develops in terms of personnel that do come in throughout the summer, but in essence, Man United have been playing this kind of 4-3-3, or maybe there's a little bit of the box kind of Leipzig kind of shape coming into it towards the back end of the season. But by any accounts, some sort of configuration of these types of players is what we're kind of looking at as things stand at the moment. Rasmus Højlund obviously was the big money signing this time last year, and he didn't overly deliver. And one of the things that a lot of Man United fans were excited about Højlund was that he's like a complete striker in theory. He should have a bit of the ability to drop into space, have a little bit of give and go, win some duels, play some flick-ons, that kind of thing. But he just really hasn't found his edge in front of goal. I know he's had some goals, he's had some important goals, of course, but he never, he definitely improved as time went on, but I don't think he really fit the billing of what Man United wanted when they signed him, which was a ready-made first-team striker. Now, Joshua Zirkzee, I don't know if he fixes all of the deficiencies that Højlund had, certainly. They're both very similar players, but from what I've seen of him in Italy, he has got that X-factor. He's got the stardust in his boots, and he can make something out of nothing. He's a bit more battle-hardened. He's been around the block once or twice, obviously having been at Bayern Munich and some other kind of, big settings already in his career, unlike Højlund, who'd went from Denmark to Austria to Italy for like 6 months or whatever before showing up at Man United. This is a guy that's been in big changing rooms. He's been on the training ground with some big and important players across world football. And I don't think the transition as such will maybe phase him or be as much of a hurdle as it was for Højlund. But ultimately, I don't think this really changes the style of play of what Man United are capable of doing in the attacking area, because Zirkzee, as much as he's a bit more of a pest, a bit more of a nuisance, a guy that will be in the face of the opposition defence, will be on the last line, this is a guy that is also very reliant on the runs and the ability of his teammates. At Bologna, he was always accompanied in the attacking positions by Lewis Ferguson as being like a kind of pressing midfielder, kind of similar to maybe McTominay, excuse the lazy comparison with the Scottish players there, but, kind of similar where there's not a big, pacey, overly strong player. I know McTominay's quite big and all the rest of it, but it's more that extra pressing presence. And then also as well, if the ball does turn over, you've got a bit of a strike partner to play with, but they're not a strike partner that's like chained to being an attacker. They are a midfielder that will retreat with the ball and cover into different passing lanes and that kind of thing as well. So if Man United are going to be using Zirkzee up here as a forward, I don't think you can overly rely upon him in the same way as maybe people thought you could with Højlund, in the sense of just make him the arrowhead, play this sort of football that's been going on at Man United for the last few years, and hey, he's maybe a wee bit better, he maybe scores a couple more goals. What I think Man United really need to do with this is have a little bit more of a philosophical change. Like I mentioned already, we did see a little bit of the 4-2-2s coming in at Man United at different points last year, and I think that would really open up the opportunity for, Garnacho seems really favoured by the manager, so it's hard to imagine that he drops out the team. We'll talk about some of these players and positions back here in a moment. Bruno Fernandes being the captain and one of the main players in the squad, again, it's hard to imagine that he misses out. So this spot here is going to be probably one of the most crucial spots that Man United deal with now for the remainder of the pre-season. I don't think it would be Anthony, but I do think the likes of Højlund and maybe even McTominay could be thinking about playing in this zone here in a kind of 4-2-2 shape and help Zirkzee help him level up the rest of the team, as it were, because it just did feel like Højlund was just to be a busy fool, a really busy attacker. Can we get the ball out wide? Can we play to him, give and goes and make some shots and all the rest of it? And I don't think with Zirkzee, if you keep that same plan of attack, like not much will change. Yeah, you might get a goal or two different, but I do think that Man United really do now need to reconfigure their attack a little bit. Maybe they can play Højlund and Zirkzee together in this 4-2-2 shape, like I've mentioned just a moment ago there, and then you get even more out of the pair of them if they're both pressing up there and they're playing like a front two, and then they've got creative players that can spill into the wide areas or are going to focus straight down the pipe. And I did tweet myself about a month ago when this transfer was first rumoured to be happening, thinking that this is really something that I wouldn't want to do if I was Joshua Zirkzee. This is a guy that's been labelled around European football already at Bayern Munich, Anderlecht and one or two other places as not having that great of an attitude, being maybe a bit of a diva, a bit of a difficult person to deal with on some level, where, Bayern Munich bombed him out essentially.
The second thing, Zirk! Last time I talked about your attitude, you come off, I don't need a mind, but I need the attitude. That's perfect.
And Man United don't really have a good history of rehabbing those guys or even getting the best out of those players. So I really do feel that Zirkzee has turned a corner, and I really do feel that his career is on a great trajectory, and ultimately I think he will be a success at Man United. But there is that 5% chance that it's just going to blow up in everyone's face again. It's going to be a very similar transfer we're talking about to maybe the likes of Anthony or Sancho, Martial, some of these players, but it's just not really worked out for one reason or another. So I do have a little bit of caution around this move. It might not be super perfect, especially, like I say, if Ten Hag does keep with the same kind of, approach that he had with Højlund, certainly. But for me, this is a huge coup, a huge transfer that really does send, I wouldn't say a shockwave, but it definitely sends a message across European football that Man United, this Ineos kind of thing that's on the go there now, their transfer business, their policy, their moves are totally different. They have to be taken seriously, and if they want a player, they'll do their best to go and get them. And it feels like the next one that could be through the door is going to be alt-control Ligt from Bayern Munich. Now, I've been a big fan of Ligt ever since he broke through at Ajax and had such a memorable, real breakout season in European football before the Juventus move, the Bayern Munich move. None of these moves have really worked out for him in a big way. But again, kind of similar to Zirkzee, but probably to an even greater extent. This is a move that obviously has got to adapt to the Premier League, because it will be a much more difficult situation than what he's had at Bayern Munich for the most part, you would say. At Juventus haven't been that great, so it's not like, you know, he's had his back against the wall playing as a Juventus player often enough, so I don't think the situation will be that different to him. But the Premier League is a totally different animal, so that's the only question mark here. But otherwise, I think this is going to be a big W of a transfer that will make a huge difference to the Man United defence. I would think that he's going to come in to partner Lisandro Martinez, and along with Onana, you know, Man United are borderline becoming a bit of a Ajax tribute act at this point when you look at Anthony still in the team as well. But with Lisandro Martinez fully fit, with all-controlled Ligt next to him, like, that is a top 4 defence waiting to happen. You know, I think the fullback maybe is something that could be looked at across maybe the rest of the window once some more business is done, because Ligt will be a huge fee. Zirkzee wasn't cheap, and the next piece of the puzzle that might fall could then be Ugarte from Paris Saint-Germain, who is a no-nonsense butcher of a defensive mid. One of the most Roy Keane guys about at the moment, to be quite frank. And if this is like the defensive wall, with Manu being the ball carrier, you've got Bruno's playmaker perhaps. See, it's hard to imagine Diallo, Pellistri, Anthony really making an impact on this team. It might be something similar, like say this kind of box formation where we've got the ball carrier, we've got the playmaker type players, and then we've got Zirkzee and Højlund up here in attack. And like I said in the intro, guys, it does feel like the laugh factory at Man United might be closing, because this is a team you need to take seriously. This is a team that is very thin, very surface level still. If we look at all the players in black here, the second string as it were, there's not a great array of talent. There's not a huge level of quality amongst all these positions, certainly. And yeah, you might argue with me on fullbacks and some other players. I'm not too bored about that. But the squad is razor thin. A key injury or two at some of the points of the season. Like, you just need to look at some of the other teams around the Premier League. Tottenham, Aston Villa, Newcastle all had different experiences with this last year, where missing key players for extended periods, for key moments, maybe for a week or two. If your team is this thin, you know, it still can, you know, go against you, and success in the Premier League is determined by the finest of margins. But if this is somewhat what Man United are going to look like coming into next year, this is probably one of the years where they can be the most optimistic that they've ever been. A lot of young, hungry, up-and-coming players that are still looking to make their own name across European football have got the track record, have got their credentials to bring into this system, to bring into this project, to try and get it moving on to the next level. So we'll watch to see De Ligt. We'll maybe see Ugarte follow not long in behind, because if Sancho and Greenwood go for the sort of deals that Man United are thinking about, making these transfers happen isn't going to be too much of an issue. In terms of the Sancho deal, I have seen little quiet rumours and whispers that maybe Chiesa could be included in that deal, and that would definitely solve a little bit of this right mid problem that Man United have with, you know, Greenwood and Sancho going out, with Anthony being meh. And I said Diallo and Pellistri, I don't think anyone's idea of a Man United caliber team. So I do think that, you know, there's definitely these two guys probably still to follow in. But on top of that, Man United are probably looking at another 2, maybe 3 quality additions, and they could really look at themselves up very quickly. As long as they get the form going, they start winning matches, they could very easily be top 3 in the Premier League again. So Joshua Zirkzee is probably the perfect way to start off the transfer window for Man United, and it could set off an amazing domino effect for them. It could see them go from 8th last year to maybe 3rd or 4th this year. I'll be really excited to catch the comment section on this one. On screen and now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this as we go through the transfer window, getting ready for a huge 24-25 season all across Europe. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.